Two whistleblowers, Tori and Patrick Berge, who both worked extensively within the shadow government as contractors, have come forward with revelations that may be part of the biggest whistleblowing event to date.
I am one of thousands faceless, patriotic Americans that work within the shadows and had been doing that for a very long time. People that worked for John Brennan approached me while I was in my specialist training while I was in the Navy. When I was recruited, it was for electronic warfare. Then I ended up in information warfare, and ironically, the base that I first went to for electronic warfare is now information warfare.
My job for a company called Dynology, which was owned by Obama's National Security Advisor, General James Jones, and I answered directly to his son. I worked for them for about 8 years, from like 2007 to 2010. My focus was primarily in the development on a couple different contracts for the Department of Defense for the development of the capabilities for interactive internet activities, being something that helps support CNO, which is computer network operations, hacking and different things like that, and information operations, which would be your actual influence operations, right? It's a supporting application that really, it's kind of like a Microsoft project, right? Which allows you to manage large projects, like enterprise level projects. But instead of like managing the building of the construction of a 14-story building, it's managing the most, malevolent operations that you could imagine.
I was a contractor for various intelligence agencies that were privately created. So they were private contracting agencies because unlike what most people think, our intelligence doesn't stay within our borders or within federal buildings.
The ShadowNet was the commercial version of an IIA weapon, IIA being interactive internet activities. That's the military nomenclature for what basically you've heard just being described for the last 3 or 4 years with all the fake news and the fake news journalists and fake stories, fake dossier. All these things are attributes and characteristics of IIA, which is social media psychological warfare. We began that really in 2007, when right after the policy guidelines first came out. We were on one of the first contracts with the DoD that I'm aware of, trying to help the Force Psychological Operations Group understand how to go from dropping flyers from planes to a more micro-targeted social media psychological warfare application where you could select an individual target or a group target or an entire country if you wanted to.
What I did was something called localization, or L10N. So a localization strategy is you find a group of people, that could be a whole country, a city, a certain religious group, 6-block radius like Chaz, and you kind of try to get in their mind. You have to understand how they eat, how they walk, how they talk, what they like, what pushes their buttons, what drives them nuts, what upsets them, what makes them happy, and then you use that to your advantage to push whatever ideology or product or direction you want them to go. Marrying together cultural appropriation, language, nuances of the demographic that you are targeting or the nation you are targeting. It pries into your demographic, your world. So if I want to blackmail you and put you under my thumb, not only will I know everything, but I will know your deepest, darkest fears. I will know people I can get in contact to find out more about you. Maybe you had like an old hockey injury. So if I wanted to attack you, I'd know where to hit you.
You understand enough about someone and you can hack their shadow, right? You can use their fears. You can use their anxieties. Like sound anything like pandemics that you recognize here.
Oh, yeah,
Right?
definitely.
So you can use those things to help reflexively control or influence a target, an individual, or whoever it is, right? Or a group of people, or an entire election, an entire country.
What Patrick Berge created was a program that was based off of the strategies that we used in person. It was a psychological operation, but that crunches data with the use of psychological operations. So you can predict how your target will respond.
You know, I spent like 7 years overseas, right? Several years, a couple of those years were specifically related to IIA. So I understood certain things.
When we hijacked the Afghan elections, how did we do that? We had to understand how the Afghanis think. We had to go to the areas that were anti-Taliban because the Taliban political group was now more militant than it was political. We used that to our advantage and formulated a plan where we would sway their thoughts to believe that XYZ candidate is the way to go, because then you won't get robbed and we'll tame the Taliban. But we had to do it in their way. So he created an algorithm that does that for you.
When we were largely doing this, it was done by analysts. Now this is more done automated through artificial intelligence, which is just a common iteration of the program or application development process. The database component ends up allowing you to build behavioral profiles on individual targets, right? And through those behavioral profiles, you can develop or implement reflexive control, which allows you to understand, with enough information about someone, you can predictively determine how they're going to react.
I was really good at what I did. Really good. And I can still do it too. I'm not doing it now though.
Well, don't be doing that,
I
Tori.
wouldn't know if I was too. But I helped them train algorithms with the strategies that I had created all these years.